We're one step closer to creating our visual brand and logo. Inspiration boards, or mood boards is another name, are ways of gathering photos, colors, textures to put together a tapestry of what we think best represents us as a creative freelancer. These photos can make up ones you can download for free online, like from pexels.com. These images can also be your own artwork if you're an artist or an illustrator or even a graphic designer. They could be your favorite typefaces or fonts. They can even be textures or metallic colors you think best represents your style. For the demonstration, I'm going to hop into a program called Canva. They currently offer a free basic account, but I find Canva a great way to put together quick inspiration boards. But you can use about any photo editing program you choose. This course will focus less on teaching the actual software and more on crafting the ideas behind creating our personal brands. So I'm here on pexels.com, and there's tons of free photo websites you can check out. I'm going to list that in the resource guide so you can find out all sorts of places you can source your photos for your brand board inspiration. So I'm here right now on Pexels, and I'm just kind of flipping through the generic photos. Of course, I can always search and fine-tune the kind of photos I'm looking for, and what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find what I think would resonate with my own personal style, my own personal brand, and my target audience. So I'm thinking about a few things as I'm going through here, and I'm looking at colors as well because we're really going to derive our color palette and brand color inspirations from some of these photos, so I got to think about that as well. So I'm just going to scroll through here. I already have a couple downloaded that I wanted to check out. You can also do textures as well. Textures, colors, people, anything that you think would resonate with your brand. It doesn't just have to be a photo. It could be all sorts of different things. So I'm going to scroll down here. I went ahead and downloaded that the white brick. I thought that kind of resonated with the style I wanted to, kind of an urban style I wanted to go with. And just kind of going around, if you like gold, if you like, this is really a personal journey for you, figuring out what you think would resonate. I also downloaded several leaf or dark nature photos because I really love the greens, and I want to see if I can pull out some of those greens in my brand. And also purples, just anything that I personally like. This is different than branding for a company, because when you brand for a company, you're thinking about the consumer, and in this case, we are thinking about our target market, we are thinking about our client, but we're also thinking about our own personal style that we get to portray in our brand. So I'm going to be over here in canva.com. I'll see you there in a minute. So the great thing about Canva is their ability to have all these pre-made photo templates, so you can make a pretty good brand board quickly by kind of dragging those photos over. And they have a free Canva. It's not the Canva for Work is the paid monthly subscription to Canva, which you get a lot of extra things, but there's also a free version of Canva that you can sign up for and do this step. You don't have to use Canva. I just recommending this as a great tool for freelancers because it's free and easy to use. And you can also create social media graphics, posters, flyers. There's a lot of great reasons to kind of have a Canva account. So I recommend you checking it out. Well, you could also use Photoshop, Illustrator, any old program to kind of put together your brand board. So I'm going to go ahead and find what I think would be enough photos to properly represent a brand and pull some colors out. I'm thinking anywhere from 6 to 10 photos. Of course, this is really personal to you if you have 50 photos you really want to pull from, but I'd like to simplify and make this choice a lot easier. So I'm just going to flip through this and try to find what I think would be a really good layout for my brand board. So I found one I thought that would work really well, and I went ahead and uploaded several of the photos that I found that I thought really resonated with Lillian Hernandez's kind of personal brand that we're starting to build for her. So she's trying to appeal to, she's just getting started, so she's trying to appeal to a broad audience. So not really a specific target yet, because she's still trying to develop that. I know she really loves those teals and blue colors, so that's something she really wanted to have in her brand. I'm going to go ahead and drag a few of these I think would really work well. And this is kind of, she likes to brainstorm and sketch out her logos and as a graphic designer, so I thought this would really be helpful. I'm going to go ahead and find a few others here. Really loves this kind of texture here. I'm going to go ahead and zoom in on this so you can really see that texture, and she really prefers this orange color. So we're going to go ahead and focus that, because that could be a chance for us to pull out some secondary brand colors in that particular texture. So you notice how I zoomed in on that, because if you have it zoomed out, it gets too detailed and you start to lose the essence of what you're really trying to focus on, and that's going to be the texture. So let's go ahead and focus on what's the most important. because that's how we're deriving our inspiration from our brand board. And another thing was these dark green nature leaves. That was something that really resonated well. So we can kind of keep that as is. This robin blue, there's a lot of blues and teals that we want to maybe derive some colors off of. So I'm just going to zoom in on this egg so we can maybe get kind of some of that color out there. Also, this blue door was a huge inspiration, especially because of the teal and that really nice cream color. So that's something we can have in there as a part of the brand theme. And also featuring previous artwork or design work or illustrative work or web design work, whatever freelance activity you do, kind of putting some previous client work in there or personal work can also help your brand board, because you have a particular style or you have a style you want to have going forward with your clients. So it's always nice to incorporate some of your prior work, so that can be a part of your brand board. If you already have some personal work or even some paid work, you can go ahead and incorporate that. And remember, it could be textures, it could be colors, it could be anything that you find or derive a brand inspiration from. So in this case, that little bit of silver could be something that we're inspired by. Feel free to incorporate certain typography or font usage that you really appreciate. If there's a certain way that typography is done or a certain font choice, you can also incorporate that into your brand board as well. Are you catering to individuals or companies? All of these factors play a part in the colors we choose. I'm including a color psychology chart to give you a rough idea of some of the emotions and reactions we can evoke with color. Certain colors are stronger, like reds and warm colors, while other colors are naturally more calming and relaxing. And I go over a lot of this in detail in my Logo Design Mastery course. So we have our little brand board that we're going to get started with. I'm going to go ahead and bring this into a color.adobe.com, which is another great resource. I'm also going to include that into the resource list, so feel free to check that out for all sorts of great resources. This is great because I'm able to really pick the colors that I need and source that from the photos. I've done this in other classes. If you've taken some of my other design classes, I do this a lot when it comes to trying to find and derive colors from inspirational photos, as opposed to trying to derive and pick colors out of nowhere. It really is kind of a helpful starting guide. So I'm on color.adobe.com. I'm going to go to extract from image. I believe this is free to use, as long as you don't need to download anything, but I don't think we need to do that. So once you load your photo in, it'll automatically populate with a color palette that they think are the strongest colors. But you can manually manipulate these any way you want. You can go ahead and drag these around and try to find and source the color that way. So I find this a really helpful tool into kind of customizing your color palettes. And let's say they focus heavily on this image and you want to drag one over and focus on this door, which was like a really important image for Lillian. So I'm going to drag that over to the door. You can also find off-white subtle colors. So if you want to have some whites and creams, you can also maybe drag this over and you can source a color that way. So kind of getting light gray, it can help you kind of choose those colors as well. Just a really helpful tool. There's kind of the color palette we have so far. And of course you can extract using a color mood. So you can do colorful. So these would be your colorful colors, your brights, muted, deep, darks, and of course none, and you could do your own custom. So you can go over to Color Wheel up here on the upper left. They just recently redesigned this whole thing, so it's a little bit different, a little bit more efficient. This is the standard color wheel, so this is the color palette that we brought in. And if you scroll down, it'll give you all the hex codes and different items that you'll need. So these are hex codes. Hex codes will be important when you build your online portfolio. These are the codes we need to do a digital representation on your website of that particular color. So anytime you see a hex code input, this is where you can find those hex codes. You can also do RGB modes. It'll also go ahead and click on some of these and it'll go ahead and give you all of the CMYK and RGB colors, which will be helpful if you're going to be really doing print and digital items and doing more of the design work with a lot of your stuff. So that's a very helpful way to find your colors. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and start with hex codes and bring in all my hex codes in to the program of my choice, which would be Adobe Illustrator, and I'm just going to really put together and finish up my brand board. It looks a lot like this, so this is kind of what I finally came up with in terms of color selection, and I just kind of have some circles there with I inputted in the hex code from color.adobe, and I was able to find the perfect shade and perfect match for these. So now we have our brand board, mood board. We've sourced some color ideas. Of course, none of these colors are final until we get a final brand together, because as we test out some of these colors, we may need to go back and fine tune them and tweak them. Maybe we were a bit aggressive with the orange. All these little things need to be figured out when we actually start to put together our logo and practical branded items.